Welcome back to the agency. Today we're taking a look at the Delta Team Tactical Force Reset trigger. They reached out to me and they said, hey, do you want this trigger? And nobody was exchanging anything like that. They just were fans of the channel. They sent it out and I said, okay, I'm gonna throw this thing into a retro AR because I don't know if anyone's done that yet. It'll be a short little video, but let's take a look. My name is Sergeant Skiggly Gogglebotch of the 12th Brigade Kerry Handolan National Army, and this is for my family. We are deep in enemy territory right now, looking for the Topper base on a Recondo mission. Now, the Toppers don't even know what Recondo means. They use the term similar, it's called recce, but they misinterpret it. They think that recce means posting cool guns with scopes on Instagram. They don't know that it's more to that. We're professionals. Relaying that intelligence and gathering it is really what the name of the game is. It gets lonely out here, I have to admit, it does. Sometimes I use my emotional support army men just to feel something. I miss my wife and my son. I hope that the little nipper can grow up in a world free of this violence, where Toppers and Kerry Handolans get together and they're united in their fight against a different enemy, perhaps the Bullpuppians from the Republic of Bullpup, the Republic. You know, perhaps us and the Toppers, we'd get along in a different life. We could share White Monster and Coos Banquet, but today is not that day. I'm down to my last rations. The standard kit for a Recondo soldier is a Hemi 3D Prince Starburst candies. They're enough to feed a man for a whole day, but I've been out here for so long that it's not enough to sustain me for the mission. Hey, you see that top over there? He's got himself a PSA Freedom rifle. Before the war started, guys like that, they used to brag all the time about how much food they bought because they saved by buying a cheap rifle, no optic, no light, no sling. Well, they cheaped out on their gun, but they didn't cheap out on their snacks. And looking as I just ate me last Hemi 3D Print Starburst candy, I'm fixing to get myself some dinner. If you've been under a rock, living under a rock for the last few years, you might not know what an FRT is. Many of you already do, but for those, let's say that this is the first video you've ever seen and you don't know what an FRT is, I'll kind of talk about it real briefly. You know, you have your normal trigger, you squeeze that trigger and, you know, hammer goes forward. That trigger's not gonna reset until you release tension off of it. So then when you go and release tension, the trigger resets and the cycle continues, and it's all right here. With a binary, which is a little bit different than an FRT, well, actually significantly different. Binary is when you squeeze that trigger, round goes off, and then on release, another round goes off. So it's just bang, bang, bang. It's almost like a double tap kind of rhythmic thing. I don't really like binary triggers. I've had one on the channel before with the resto mod, the red right-hand resto mod, LMG retro kind of gun. If you've seen that video, you kind of saw some of the issues I had with it. You got to time them and stuff like that. We'll talk about binaries here in a second. And then when it comes to the, whatchamacallit, the FRT, it is automatically resetting the trigger for you via a mechanism. So let's say you take this, so it's 3 positions as well. So you got 1, 2, 3. There's a mechanism in there that is forcing the trigger to reset on its own. So as long as you're applying rearward pressure, there's a mechanism that is automatically resetting it. So you go and squeeze that trigger, it goes bang, and then the mechanism is automatically resetting it. So you are still pulling, for every single round, you are still pulling the trigger once, so it is semi-automatic. However, the mechanism is making it so that it's automatically doing it. So it's just bang, and then reset, bang, bang. So as long as you're applying that rearward pressure, you're just along for the ride at that point. And it's very fast. It is not, I don't want to say the word because I don't want to get demonetized. It is not a true 3-position sort of system, because would be holding that trigger down and it staying to the rear and it going bang, 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 bang. A force reset is a 1 round per trigger squeeze. It's just resetting it on its own. Now these videos would not be possible. Well, they would be possible. They just wouldn't be very good because I wouldn't have resources. Without sponsors such as HamiPrince.com. Now he just recently made this Car 15 cheek riser. Let's get some good footage here of that. This is a clone of a Cherokee, so he got his hands on a real Cherokee. And, you know, if you're not familiar with those risers, they were kind of used in the 90s and whatnot by operators. They're even in the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as I think it's the combat stock is what they call it. But he has faithfully recreated several versions of them, the Apache, Navajo, and I think the Comanche. You can go check out his website. Huge thanks for him for making these, but also sponsoring the video. So if you're looking for some cool printed stuff, whether it's risers like this or mag holders, wall mounts, stuff to display your gun, storage stuff, I'll throw some B-roll of what this all looks like. Go check out Hammy and say thank you. You can use code ESPO for 10% off. And let's get back to the video. We have an opportunity. So, you know, not gonna be a hardcore review of the Delta Team Tactical FRT. They sent it out to me and I thought it would be kind of cool to throw it into a retro AR because I haven't really seen anybody do that. And I've kind of made the M16A2 better. You know, the original one is a burst gun, so I've never shot a burst M16A2, but I've heard that the trigger is affected even in semi-automatic mode, making the trigger pull inconsistent. And that's not the case for this. Now, it's not great it's not like the greatest trigger ever in semi-automatic, but it's still it's better than like the PSA triggers that I have. But nobody really gets an FRT for the semi-automatic features. You know, you kind of get it for that third position and to have fun. Nothing too in-depth on this video. I just wanted to make a funny skit and shoot it on full semi-automatic to kind of demonstrate it and whatnot. FRTs are kind of expensive. I think that the super safety, the plastic ones that you can kind of DIY, there's kind of two routes you can go. You can either get, you know, something like this, metal, it's gonna last a little bit longer, or you can do the additive manufacturing method of making your own plastic ones that you can keep making. Yeah, they might not last as long, but you can also make those for different kinds of platforms like MP5, ARs, and whatever else the super safeties are available for. So it's like the money could be spent to get an FRT, or it could be spent to buy your own printer and then do it that way and learn that whole system. It's just kind of what you want to do. Now, if you want a obviously more traditional, you know, longer lasting sort of trigger, you got something like this. Now, this one is actually kind of difficult to install. I had to actually ask them how it was done because you kind of have to have the hammer forward and there's a mechanism on the rear that you kind of have to play with and mess with as you're snapping the upper and lower together, because mine didn't want to come together until I had to have the hammer forward. Kind of a weird install process, and then it's held together by two anti-walk pins. So that's pretty much what you got, and then you got an ambi safety. And then as far as binary goes, I've had a binary before and I didn't love it. I had a Franklin Armory and it came with like a couple different buffer springs. It came with different trigger springs as well, because you really got to tune those. And the problem with that is that you can also outrun the trigger. So there was a time, and I have it in my other video, where I would have the hammer was forward, but so was the bolt carrier group. So that's basically, if you're squeezing the trigger off faster than the bolt carrier is cycling, you can have that issue where you have a round chambered, hammer forward, and the trigger is dead. So you got to then rip out that good round and then it'll reset it that way. I don't love the binaries. I think that they're pretty much a gimmick. I mean, they're a little bit cheaper than this, but this is significantly better, and this emulates the third position setting much better than the binaries do. As far as the gun goes, we got the Davidson Defense Upper, just my SBR Car 15 lower with the Hammy Prince cheek riser. Shout out to Hammy for being the sponsor of this video. And then of course a cheap Barska kind of airsoft 4X wannabe scope. Is this thing any good? No, but you know, if you're just having like a little throwaway kind of clone wannabe gun, they're fine for flat range activities. That's just kind of the build. I got the Blue Force gear, chocolate chip sling, so it goes hard. That's pretty much all I got. So thanks for watching the video. Real simple this week. Nothing too in depth, nothing too crazy. Just wanted to have some fun with a FRT and an old school looking AR. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you hope you have a good rest of your day.